looks like he's coming our way. Hopefully we can scare him away. Oh man, it is cold. Clear out. It's supposed to get real cold, apparently. It's freaking freezing right now. Man, oh man, everything's frosted up white outside. Anyway. What do we got? What do we got? Tons. Tons and tons and tons. So much. The Owl Man has written it again. The Owl Man. Regular contributor, full of knowledge with the wild people of the forest experiences. Knowledge. Let's give a listen to him. And I'm actually going to share a video I strongly suggest you all watch at the end of this video today. All right, you guys? Now, listen to this. I can get right into it so I don't start going on some kind of a rant. Steve, this is a revised email I sent on February 5th. So please disregard that one if you happen upon it. I had to add some pertinent information that I inadvertently left out. I want to give you my permission to share my email with the Arizona 7. Arizona 7? I think it was Arizona 4, isn't it? It is obvious to me that there is some commonalities in the information we have collected from conversations with the Sabe people. Seems to me if they are a people as we define people, it is only logical that some of us humans have had intersectional cross communications with each other over the centuries. I think it's imperative that we compare notes and experiences to come to some sort of conclusion. Whoa, and then my whole screen disappeared. A little odd. It is obvious to me that there is some commonalities in the information we have collected from the conversations with the Sabe people. Seems to me, if they are people as we define people, it is only logical that some of us humans have had interactional cross communications with each other over the centuries. I think it's imperative that we compare notes and experiences to come to some sort of conclusion on our shared history. I often listen and look for others who may have the ability to confirm the information the Sabe around me have spoken of. I think this will benefit all of us who are willing to listen with an open heart and mind. No doubt. Once again, I feel compelled to respond to some questions some of your subscribers have asked about. I've been holding off on some of this information because I'd like to get it updated from the Sabe people themselves. I guess I can do that at a later date. Of all the Sabe I'm connected with, not all of them have answers to all the questions we have. As one individual once told me, more answers just lead to more questions. I have 3 individual Sabe to go to at the moment, and one of them is much wiser and acquainted with our ways than the rest, and will have a more complete answer for these questions. I'll try to address the questions a few asked about so-called future events, but first I want to address the people who once again are fearful for their children, especially the gentleman who wrote in fearful for his daughter, who is seeing them watching her from the tree line. I've heard so much that I can't remember everything I have shared, so forgive me if I'm repeating information. It's okay, man, repeating it is exactly what we need, right? If we're gonna get it slammed between our ears, we need to hear it often. More than a few topics. Over the years, I've met many people who have found themselves connected to the Sabe people, either by accident or by intention. There is so much fear-mongering about all this. At this point, it's just getting old, and I've learned that you can never really change people's opinions about anything, so I don't bother. It is my wish to help ease those who are fearful of these beings in just about every aspect, especially when it comes to women and children. My own life is not consumed with them. I just consider them part of my life and see my relationship with them as a new normal. When I do anything outdoors in their areas, I just deal with them as if they were a neighbor and go about my business. If one wants to just talk over the fence, so to speak, so be it. Once in a while, one will pass by my home and let me know he is here. I just acknowledge him and go back to what I'm doing. This always seems to happen at night. I wonder why. I wonder why. As it was stated, the Sabi appeared to be a patriarchal-based culture. Have you noticed how many people see males and rarely females and young ones? I was just thinking about the other day, how many people have actually seen a bursting, pregnant, female Sasquatch, Sabi person? How many people have actually seen a pregnant, female forest person? I don't think I've ever heard of that. This is because, like us, the males put themselves on the front line of what they consider dangerous. They will make themselves visible before they expose the females and the little ones. They will make themselves the target of humans before exposing the others. It is generally the clan leader who does this, along with a few of his closest and trusted male clan members. I honestly have no idea if this is the norm across the board or not, but in all my travels to where these beings live, it always seems to be the case. There may be exceptions in other regions. All I can tell you is it is rare for females to make contact with us. Just pay attention to the encounters you read. Very few are females or little ones. The Sabis don't consider themselves naked. They think we are naked because we are not covered with hair. They call us naked little people when respectful. So the idea of one standing naked in front of us as something inappropriate is just human foolishness. It's like Victorian age Europeans imposing their cultural standards on a tribe of South African Bushmen. I mention all this because they are really a lot more like us than people realize. The only exception I have noticed is they all seem to be on an autistic spectrum in some way, which really explains some of their strange behaviors. It even manifests itself in how they communicate with MindSpeak. If they can't find words to describe something, they can send a mental image and emotion to go with it. They can get easily frustrated trying to get a point across and then just send an image to your mind. It's really strange but fascinating too. If these beings are on the demonic spectrum, like some people think, they are really a piss-poor bottom of the barrel variety. It is almost laughable. I would expect low-level demonic spirits to at least not be laughable. No one would understand this unless you actually engage them in MindSpeak communication over an extended period of time. Having said all this, they do understand our family dynamics and gender roles, so men and fathers acting as protectors is something they understand about us. Now, this is important to remember. If you and them are sharing property to the extent where you see them often, it is best for the men to take their entire family out to meet them. This doesn't mean you stand face to face. It means you go deep enough for the Sabi to see you. Typically, it's best at night because the whole clan is awake and active. In the day, they typically have what I call a day watcher, keeping an eye on the entry points where we enter their areas. Day watchers tend to be younger individuals. Adolescents, in our terms, given just enough responsibility to be trusted. I wouldn't trust a day watcher to retain all the information one of us wants to convey. So, to get your point across, you want to make sure at least some adult in the clan is there to listen to you. So night is the best time to do this. At the very least at dusk. As a man, husband, or father, you step forward. You tell your family to just be quiet and listen. Don't act all proud, loud, and angry. Address them formally, as if you were meeting a new neighbor for the first time. As the man of the household, hold out your right arm, palm facing up, with your head tilted towards the ground. You don't want to be looking straight ahead. Keep your eyes forward, as if you're looking at the ground a few feet in front of you. You can have the whole family do this at the same time, but it's not necessary. You then address them with this: greetings. Don't use hello. Hello annoys the hell out of them for some reason. Say your name. Tell the Sabi this is your family. Then introduce each family member, even grandparents if you have to. Bring your wife forward and state her name. Bring each child forward, do the same. Then state your intentions and lay down ground rules. Keep all the words simple. Here's an example. This is my family. They are afraid of you, but I am not. We want to live in peace with you. We will not make you afraid of us, and we wish you no harm. We will not show you to our own people. We will keep your home safe. We just ask that you leave our animals alone. Our hut, they call our homes huts, alone. Or our garden alone. You can then lower your arm and raise your head. Tell them peace and blessings to you from the great Creator. And then just walk back to your home. It is important to use great Creator. You may hear something from them and you may not. Even a simple small twig break may be them. Either way, just go back home as if nothing happened. As a man, you try to convey peace and safety to the women and children of your family in regards to them. The women and children can address them when they are out, as well as to help with their fear. I'm not lying. They are intimidating as all get go. But once you have an understanding of what you're dealing with, it's not so difficult. Remember, they are not animals. Do not address them or treat them as such. They really hate that. They know we're afraid of their appearance and expect you to be, but they do not generally want us to flip out when we do. They actually have a lot of respect for any of us who don't flip out. Now, what you just did is show respect and reverence to them and their culture. They should respect that back. The downside is this: they are now aware you know something about them. Most humans don't. Well, at least maybe for the past 200 years. That alone will make them a lot more curious about you, which means expect to get a glimpse of them more often. The plus side about this: they may protect your home. Yeah, it's crazy, I know. Sounds like bullshit, I know, but it's the truth. One may ask, protect you from what? That depends on various things. You could have predators that they might kill if you have livestock. They may also drive away strangers who show up unexpectedly. They may also deal with some of the other things we generally know nothing about. I want to know about those things. What do you mean? All I know is once you as a human show you know something about them, they can't help themselves from wondering how is that possible, and they will be watching even from afar. You will never escape it. I understand that part. Do they tend to connect with humans who have been abused in some way? I've seen a pattern that may say this is true. I think I can get a friend of mine to write to you and tell you her story in regards to this. I actually know a few people with similar stories of child abuse. The Sabe, in their own way, did what they could to try to either stop it or to try to offer comfort. People who experience this will not talk about it publicly for multiple reasons. You really have to gain someone's trust to have them open up about this. I can assure you, this is a real thing. If you only sat down face to face with a woman who has had this happen, then have it happen a few more times, only a fool will say they are lying. I'm sure there are some men out there who have experienced this phenomenon, and I hope they write in to tell you. On another note, some seem to have the ability to heal you. I experienced this in a huge way. Some have mentioned this ability, but few have written to you about this. I hope someone does. I may share my experience with this one day. They can't heal everything, but from what I gather, it's something we may call energy healing. However they do it, they seem to be able to move energy around your body in a specific way, kind of like Eastern medicine, like Reiki or acupuncture. I know for sure whatever they do, they can work wonders with chronic pain. As far as pathogenic diseases and such, they have a working knowledge of herbal medicine. I've been told they do not get cancer. I think you have all respected that. How and why, I have no idea. I was told this by someone years ago and just never thought much of it until you began to share about them being around nuclear facilities. It seems the governments of the world would want to keep silent about these beings just for these reasons. Generally, the Sabe find rape, physical abuse, murder, and cannibalism repulsive, taboo, and forbidden. They have the death penalty for most of these things. Even petty theft can have a high price. Theft for them is stealing food in some fashion. Just like us, they do have criminals, malcontents, mental cases, and the like, but honestly not to the extent like we do. The vast majority of them are normal, at least when it comes to their own people. Will they eat? Will they kill and eat you? If you live around them and think that, just move into a large city and be happy and avoid going anywhere they may live. If you as a human being are worried that a Bigfoot is going to kill and eat you and your family, it's best you move into a high-rise in Hong Kong to be safe. Have they taken women and children in the past? According to some First Nations people, yes, probably. But it was never to eat them. They forced them into their culture for reasons only known to them. From what I understand from the Sabe, that is forbidden. I recall one Sabe mentioning it was not uncommon at one time for some of our people to willingly live with them or take a mate from them. I was once offered one of their females for a mate. I had no idea if he was serious or not, so I politely declined. You never know with them. They can have a strange sense of humor. Just like us, we had human cultures in the past with sordid customs. We have it today with human trafficking. It would be safe to say your daughters and young women are more likely to be abducted and abused by humans than one of the Sabe. Honestly, the amount of children and women abducted by our own is off the charts at this point in history. I'd be more concerned about your children being abducted at the local grocery store. I mentioned once before that abduction stuff with them seemed to end once Europeans arrived. Remember, not all First Nations people had difficult relations with them. Typical human fashion was seemed to only focus on the bad situations and never see the positive ones. People only hear what they want to hear and ignore everything else. The Sabe understand the term barter. They don't grasp commerce, trade, or concept of money, labor, or property ownership. When they leave rocks or feathers or dead things, it's their way of trading for things they may have taken, like a chicken, dog food, or one of their favorite, sweet feed for horses. This is why people often find the odd rock, dead bird, or feather placed for them to find. They will often leave you a gift of something they know you value. When one left you the shed of the deer you're pursuing, or the arrow you lost in that crappy shot of a bear. Steve, they knew that deer and arrow had value to you. I had something similar happen to me with a live box turtle. I had no idea there were wild box turtles where I live. I've lived in the same area for over 50 years and never came across a box turtle. Long before any Mindspeak incidents, I had a specific spot I would go to where I had placed a large piece of non-split firewood to leave as a gifting stump. It was my habit of going there, presenting myself to the Sabe, and usually leaving them something. They never took food. Actually, nothing ever took the food. It would not rot away. Talk about strange things. I typically left a feather or a white rock. One afternoon I went there, and on the stump was a live box turtle. Why is that important? I have a collection of box turtles, all rescues from long-term captivity. Most of them messed up due to improper care. I have an outdoor enclosure where they are allowed to live a natural life as much as possible. How did they know? They either read my mind or were visiting my home and watching me. It's probably a combination of both. Years later, one Sabe told me their people admire how I care for the reptiles. They used reptiles, not turtles. I found that interesting. Either way, they knew. I thanked them for the box turtle and told them it was wild and needs to stay here, and placed it back on the ground. That whole event showed me they were watching me the moment I came in. They knew where I was going, and somehow they found that animal They knew where I was going, and somehow they found that animal ahead of time to put it in the exact spot they knew I was going. I think of this often. Steve, this is for your First Nation friends. I know that somewhere in their past their people had extensive Mindspeak communications with the Sabe, otherwise they wouldn't know the things they have passed down from generation to generation. They have confirmed many things the Sabe speak of, like not exhausting food resources, how they bury their dead, and that you as an individual can simply put a stop to Mindspeak if you so choose. They do not force themselves on anyone if you are friends with them. That has been a long, big deal for me. They always want to talk to my wife, and it really freaks her out. She now just politely tells them no thanks. But there are times she feels compelled to tell them what they are saying. But there are times she feels compelled to tell me what they are saying if she feels it's important. As wild as it sounds, it's not a big deal to us anymore. It's more or less expected if we go somewhere where the Sabe are living. If it's a spot where they are not familiar with me, they will usually ask. It seems that many Sabe will live in the lands where First Nation people live because they are so familiar with their history together. There may be a downside to this as well. I have no idea how valid this is, but the reason some reservations have horrible Sabe's interactions is that the worst of the Sabe may choose to live there because they seem to get away with terrible behavior with no consequences from us. It is like some know the First Nations people will not invite governmental authorities to deal with them. The First Nations people in my area were pushed out well over 100 years ago, so the Sabe here call them the Old Ones. As I've mentioned, my local clan was very excited to meet my oldest niece, who they thought was an old one because of her Hispanic heritage. I had a difficult time trying to convince them that she was not. I have no idea why this means so much to the ones here, but I once mentioned how old they can live, and I really think some of them remember the time when the Potawatomi and the Miami people lived here. Now for the people who think they have advanced knowledge of future events. They do not seem to have the same concept of time as we do. They use the terms seasons to mark events and such. They don't count years as we do. How can they tell you their age then? You have find the season they were born in and some type of event you can connect it to. I find that to be rather difficult. They live in the moment. They see life as existence in the present moment. They don't project their lives into the future as we do. They simply live day to day, season to season. As odd as it sounds, I've discovered they are very accurate when it comes to predicting the overall weather of each season. They seem to know if we will have a harsh winter or a summer, and will say something like this: the snow will fly early, but it will not be very cold. But by the end it will be harsh and spring will be slow to come. They've been surprisingly accurate here for many years when asked. I've mentioned something they speak of that they call the time of knowing. Without exception, they all know of this. Like any people with language, culture, and a belief system, this is part of theirs. Now, without going into all the details, I will tell you exactly from their words what part of this is. One Sabe who I really owe my journey to has said this, and I quote, "We have prophets among us. We have dreams we do not understand. We see things we do not understand. But we see something falling from the sky that looks like a mountain on fire. We do not know what this is, but it will cause great destruction, and we can help some of your people, but not all of them. We know not when this time will come, but we will help as many as we can." I explained to this individual that what his people see is what we call a meteor, or is it a nuclear missile? It is like a great mountain of rock falling from the heavens and is on fire because of the heat as it enters the air of Earth. Yet these things have happened in the past and still happen all the time, just not as destructive. The Sabe are troubled with this. They have no idea when this will happen. I told them we have predictions of these things as well in some of our own belief systems, but we do not know of the time. As for the time of the knowing, it is much more complex. The reason they are so fearful of this is they say it's a difficult time for our people and theirs. It speaks of a future date when their existence is proven, and because of that, all the things they guard against is publicly known. This will be a great time of turmoil, fear, and unrest. We as people can't mentally deal with the things they do. They will be persecuted, their homes burned to the ground out of fear. They'll be seen as the enemy when they really are not. The things they strive to protect us from will be able to run unchecked. I will quote one individual who I personally didn't like. His words, quote, "I do not like your people, but it is my job to protect you," end quote. Well, that's interesting. In human terms, the Sabe speak of a time when the entire human population discovers the reality of a hidden or unseen world right under our noses. Humans will flip the hell out and be uncontrollable, since the Sabe are either most visible and accessible, of this unseen world, their lives will become a living hell. Contrary to what some think, they can't just jump into a portal to escape. The risks of doing that are huge. All the things that everyone thinks is nonsense will be brought to light, and life on Earth will not be quite the same. I have no idea if this fits in with their visions of a meteor hitting the Earth or not. Like I have mentioned, I have to get back out in the field and get an update on this part of their belief system. When I do, I'll let you know. They do insist that there is a time coming where we will need their help. In my opinion, that will be a difficult time. They know frightened humans are the worst thing on the planet. People will choose a side, big time. It will not be pretty. Do I believe all they say? No, not really. But I consider it, and do not dismiss it either, because I realize they're on the autistic spectrum. Sometimes things can be different than they say. All I can tell you is they believe it. So far, because of you reading emails, you have confirmed many things they spoke of. It has been validation and confirmation to a lot of things for me. As nutty as all this sounds, I know not all Sabe are kind, caring, and understanding. The ones who want nothing to do with us just avoid us with disgust and contempt. They walk away pretty much muttering to themselves how stupid and vile we are. Truth be told, can you not blame them? Most of them see that in us, but they also see the parts of us that remind them of themselves. This is why it's so important to show them what we have in common. There's much more to our lives they do not understand. Someday I'll write in and tell you the questions they have asked about us as a people. Some are quite funny and some will be rather surprising. Despite all their so-called supernatural powers, they really do not understand us very well. They base a lot on what they see, and they see a lot of negative stuff. Where I live, their homes are a dumping ground for garbage, dead bodies, drug deals, homosexual rendezvous, which they really find disturbing. Imagine spent condoms hanging off the limbs of bushes. This is not a joke. I come across all this stuff and more knowing well they are watching us. Maybe some of those listening can grasp a little understanding of what the Sabe see and how it affects how they think of us. I know this is not the case everywhere, but we all know the power of seeing good examples versus negative ones. You mean like that real cool halftime show at the Super Bowl? Sorry. I hope this information helps those who really need to hear this. These emails are not meant for the deaf, blind, or willfully ignorant. I thank you for always being so gracious to me. You really never have to read any of my emails, and you always give me the benefit of the doubt, and that's honorable. The only reason I ever wrote to you is I thought it was about time people knew. I've been sitting on this since 2008. I could drop dead tomorrow, and you have preserved all of this for future generations. I've lived up to the expectation of the Sabe leader who wants our people to know they are not monsters. I'll promote this till I die. As we speak, my sister and my niece are in the process of learning about them as I have, so they can carry on. I'm also in the process of introducing my wife's 25-year-old daughter to them, who also has the ability to speak and hear them. Unlike most people here, I sought them out. After being totally freaked out for a long time, my prayers to what I was dealing with were answered. It was not what I expected. People who think they have some connection to the dark spirit, as they call him, will never really understand because they refuse to actually listen. Fear is purchased for pennies, and typical people have a lot spare change. I apologize for the length of this, but I wanted to address those who have had more than just the run-of-the-mill encounter with them. They need answers to help waylay the fear and apprehension. Blessings to all have ears to hear the Owl Man. And there you go. Another submission from the Owl Man. Loaded with stuff to chew on, right? Take from it what you will or leave it. It's amazing, man. It's amazing the stuff that the knowledge that you've gained for you and your ride is pretty amazing. The questions that I have are a lot. If I had access to some unknown, unacknowledged people on this planet, I think, one of the questions that come to my mind are ones that are of great concern, but don't seem to be great concern to many authorities. One thing I am very curious about is, where are the Aboriginal women going? Who's taking them? You know, there's any way for any people to communicate with these beings if they know, because I know they are absolutely familiar with the same geographical locations that these innocent people are being taken, and it is ridiculous how many have been taken, disappeared, no answers, no arrests, no suspects, gone. If there's any way a question like that could be answered, it would be appreciated. I don't know if these people would know or not. I would imagine they've witnessed these women being taken in rural communities, highways, wherever. But that's a big question for me that I would ask. And also, there's some of the points that you make that are somewhat odd for me personally, because you speak of them as they live right there in a clan and a family with a hut, not far from you. And I don't claim to be an expert, but I have spent a lot of time in the middle of nowhere, a lot, and intentionally, specifically tracking and looking for elusive wild animals. I know all the signs, I know all the different trails, I know a lot. I don't share it on here. I don't have to swing my dick about it, but believe me, I know a lot, and I do find what I'm looking for. I'll say this once, and this isn't a boasting thing. This is just to give you an idea of how I don't miss much and how I do see the sign. But I went full 100% success in my game guided career. All right, you guys? I know how to find things. I know what the sign looks like. Now, if there were any kind of a family, clan, tribe, group of large beings living full-time on this same dimension I am, on that mountain right there that I've been running around for, up to 20 years, I'm going to see, I'm going to find their huts. I'm going to find those huts. I'm going to see where they are traveling to get into the entrances of their homes. I'm going to see the sign. I'm going to see evidence of them harvesting game animals. You're not going to be able to hide from me. Not if, now I'm going on the if part, there is a group, I don't care what the species is, there's a group of anybody or anything's living on the same dimension I am, full-time, standing on that ground right there, especially if you weigh upwards of 800 pounds. You're not going to hide your sign from me, as well as the sign is being hidden from me now. Where I go, I am observing every single thing. I've seen these beings years ago, so there's always part of me that is anticipating and looking for and taking note of potential other sign besides the sign I'm looking for. It should be moose, bear, wolf, deer, mountain sheep, goat, everything. Do you know what I mean? So I do accept the fact that there is more than likely groups of the forest people living here on the same physical plane as we are full time. I accept that. There's too much evidence. Just where I was living in the coastal mountains around Whistler, Pemberton, British Columbia, Mount Currie, just the sightings, the year-round sightings in that area, the same descriptions tells me that there for sure is, I don't know how many, but there's a handful of beings living around particular areas where I'm very familiar with, and they're there full-time, and I know they're full-time just from the sightings from the First Nations people who told me flat out, no, it's not seasonal, they don't migrate away, they're here all the time. Now, how far do they travel from their full-time homes, physical homes, to get to there? In an evening, in a morning, in an hour? I don't know, haven't a clue. Do they do it physically to travel from point A to point B? I don't think so, but I don't know for sure. But I'm just saying, I do accept the fact that there is going to be a population of these beings on the face of the planet that do live full-time, do have a home, keep it secret, and avoid us. But that is one hell of an effort. But when you're in British Columbia, if you want to go on Google Earth and check out the mountains we have, and if you are that physically capable and intelligent, like I said to people years ago, shit, I could hide a herd of elephants up in that valley over there and nobody ever find it. You know, if you're smart enough, you could do it. And if the animals you were trying to hide were intelligent enough, you could do it. Okay, I'm starting to babble, aren't I? Anyway, but on the other side of the coin, what I'm getting at is there is far, far, far too many identical experiences of people seeing similar beings, very similar beings, vanishing right in front of their face, vanishing. There's also scientists, a couple of them who I am speaking to one-on-one, who have seen these, the description of a Sasquatch Sabe person exiting a portal, hitting the ground and running. You know, so there's a bunch of all these other points, all these other experiences people are reporting that aren't mentioned at all in your experiences with these particular people that you're talking to. I don't think you've written about those points, have you? Not sure. I've read so much. Right now, I've read so much. I share so many experiences that is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, lots of questions, man. I absolutely appreciate you and your knowledge and experiences you're having and you're sharing with everybody. It's absolutely huge. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say there's a lot, but there's definitely 110%. There's numerous other people in the same boat you are, having the same experience, and they're acquiring the same knowledge. But there's a bunch of gaps left out. Now, who or what are these beings who do absolutely vanish from our sight? Who are these beings who will walk on dry leaves within 50 meters of a man sitting in a tree stand with his father or son, whatever, separated on the other side of each other by 100 meters, and this thing is crunching, smashing on the ground in between them, but they can't see shit, broad daylight. That incident has been reported I don't know how many times. We've had people, a man in a tree stand, broad daylight, something was literally breathing on his neck and spat on his neck. And he spun around, nothing's there. You know, there's that and more. You know, I appreciate the fact that you are talking to these people. They live in communities, they have huts, they're a family member, they got the male comes out, the man, and he's protecting and trying to do damage control when other humans are coming to protect the women and the children. But that all sounds so much more like simple human beings like us, when it just doesn't make sense when we hear so many people. Dude, we're talking thousands of people who are relaying these supernatural experiences, witnessing it. How? I just don't understand how a being, it's very confusing for me. So, I don't believe I've heard you mention that these beings have mentioned to you that, yeah, we just disappear, man. We climb inside a tree, we can poke out and hide behind a 6-inch tree in front of people watching us with night vision, do that, no problem. Yeah, we sneak up on people invisible all the time and breathe in their neck and spit on their neck. We push down trees in front of people in broad daylight in open timber and stay invisible. Those things, you haven't mentioned any of these, what would be called supernatural abilities. You haven't mentioned any of that. These beings that you are speaking with haven't mentioned anything of those sorts at all so far, have they not? It's all been fairly simple in a way. I think what I remember so far, it's almost like, okay, like you said, you're meeting up with a tribe of people who aren't mixed in with us and we're not familiar with us and want to stay away from us, and that's fine. But it sounds like there's just so much more going on, man. There's so much more going on. Now, is there a small population of people with this description running around, what I'm trying to say is there a small population of these people who are living in groups successfully, harvesting food to sustain themselves just like we basically used to, and some of us still do? But is there another population of beings who look exactly the same, who are doing all this crazy ass shit, getting through security barriers at nuclear sites and standing there looking up into the CCT to the closed caption security screens? Right? Disappearing. You've got disappearing footprints, trackways all the time, absolutely vanishing. You've got people who have seen these beings absolutely vanish before their eyes. You've got people, scientists, seeing one of these things at 20 meters, jumping up and down, basically doing like a jumping jack and becoming translucent, absolutely see-through from the waist up, and then losing time, and then having texts from all around the globe welcoming him back into their airspace. Right? There's a lot of shit there. There's a lot of questions there that supernatural is not even the right word, incidents that aren't being mentioned in your conversations with these particular people that you're talking to. Right? So we still have a shit pile of questions. A shit pile of questions and mysteries going on. And what's going on. But anyway, I guess more importantly right now though, if I had access to a group of these people in the forest today to speak with them, the first questions that come to my mind are, where are the First Nations women going? Who's taking them? Who's taking them? Who's taking all the people? Who's taking the children? Who are making the people go missing in the national parks? Who's responsible? Why? Why are they taking them? Are they dead? Are they being murdered? What's up? Having a 110% direct answer with confidence would be really, really valuable for a lot of innocent, kind people today, right? Anyway, that was a bit all over the map, wasn't it? I hope I made sense. I don't rehearse any of this shit, and I read the emails as they come, and then here I am trying to process it all in 2 seconds and live in front of a camera, and then trying to get my thoughts to spew out of my mouth in a way that you might understand me. Anyway, thanks again, man. Appreciate you and your time. And make sure you're right back again, all right? Make sure you're right back again. Keep us updated. Let's see if I got some time to hear somebody else. All right. Who's next? Potential puzzle piece from the land down under. All right, man. G'day, Steve. G'day, mate. I'm connecting with you from Australia. I'll use my first name, Adam, but I'll not give you my surname purely because I work within a corrupt government department that is effed up right now, and I want to protect my children. No doubt, your government is one of the absolute worst, darkest sons of bitches on the planet. I'll leave that at that. So don't worry, man. We get it. There's a lot of people in the world that know. We know. Steve, truth should be the gold standard in this life, but it is such a shame that the pursuit of that truth can often at times alienate so many, including myself. But your platform and your YouTube channel have provided a sense of community, belonging, and acceptance. Thank you so much, Steve, for what you have chosen to do in giving people a voice to not feel alone, not feel isolated within themselves, and feel part of an actual community that does not judge them. You're a true blessing, mate. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. This place is nothing without you. This place is nothing without all of you. Now to my story. In Australia, the Indigenous people have a lot of dream time stories passed down from generation to generation. Some of these stories speak of people that lived here in Australia before the Aboriginals settled in this place. Some of the pieces of evidence consist of verbal, pictorial stories, and even rock paintings that some tribes have openly stated were here/created before their people arrived. There are rock paintings in the middle of Australia showing that there was a race of very tall beings that met the Aboriginals when they arrived, giving them knowledge and telling them about the great creator. Anyone who does their due diligence and looks at the history of this country can see that there are a lot of things that the mainstream doesn't tell/hides from us. Some of these things include, but are not limited to, Aboriginal people observing and sharing the land with tribes of Yahoos or Yowies. Yowies meaning hairy people. They're described as flat-nosed with wide nostrils, thick eyebrows, and sunken eyes. Their mouths are very wide and had thick lips and prominent jaws. The Aborigines regarded them as another people entirely, and at times battled with them. Oh my God! How would you frickin' prepare for that fight? There's also evidence of Egyptians traveling via boats to Australia. Archaeological discoveries of an ancient port found in the Sydney area, and evidence of Egyptians and Aboriginals bartering resources such as eucalyptus oil, which has been found in Egypt. There's even detailed evidence of Egyptian travelers having relations with some of the indigenous population. Some independent anthropological studies of a certain tribe which existed in the same area have shown that people of said tribe have a lot more finer features and similar facial physical characteristics. Some of those Egyptian encounter stories still exist today in rock carvings / hieroglyphs of Egyptian origin found deep within the Australian outback. Heck, there are paintings of our Aboriginal tribes having interactions with / hunting dinosaur / prehistoric type creatures. The reason why some have not spoken openly about this in the past is that, one, when they do, they're shut down and silenced by mainstream academia. Also, it creates a potential political head F that the powers that be want to avoid so they can keep pushing their narrative. It's such a shame because history belongs to everyone. It's everyone's story no matter where you damn well come from. We are all one race. Open dialogue. We are all one race. Open dialogue regarding real evidence and our true history would bring us closer as a people and make us much richer as a society. But instead, they want us to toe the line with their interpretation of our human story, which in turn dumbs us down. The reason why I bring this up is that it gives a bit of contextualized backstory to this conversation I had with my next door neighbor's housemate. So here we go. Approximately a month ago, my next door neighbor asked me to come over to have a beer with him. We proceeded to have a beer, and during this time, his housemate came out to join us also. The housemate looked so dark in complexion that I thought he was Aboriginal. Yet his facial features looked more Caucasian, I guess you would say. So I asked him if he was part Indigenous. He laughed and proceeded to tell me that his complexion was all to do with working in the harsh Australian sun for so many years. Damn that bloody hot Aussie sun, hey? We proceeded to discuss his occupation and some of the odd jobs he had done in the past, and basically just talking about his time in remote Australia. He told a couple of stories, and then he spoke about some of the tribes that he had interactions with and some of the amazing things he had seen that many Australians would have no idea about. While listening to him, I brought up what I had researched regarding ancient cultures and about the archaeological finds within Australia that a lot of people wouldn't know existed. And even brought up the fact that some Aboriginal cultures talked about a pre-existing race that occupied this country. As soon as I said this, he smirked and said he had a story to tell me. He told me that while he was working in the same remote outback, he was doing some odd jobs for the mining company, and that one time, while he was there, someone that appeared to have been an Indigenous elder brought an individual into the area where the mining operations were happening in order for this guy to do a job. The housemate stated that he didn't know why this individual was specifically brought in, but that it may have had something to do with either a rite of passage or maybe learning experience. From what I could gather, the housemate really wasn't sure. And this is only his assumption, I think. He stated that he was not privy to that information. Here's where it gets interesting. The individual who was brought in by the elder was said to have been a male, approximately 7, maybe more foot tall, slim, lean, and very pronounced / obvious conical shaped head, and that his skin was a shade of purple. The housemate emphasized the whole purple thing a few times as he remembered the amazement at the color of this bloke's skin. Okay, remember, I've already said to you guys, when you hear someone telling a story of what they witnessed, they always overemphasize on the part that really stuck out, right? This individual apparently looked like an Australian Aboriginal. I asked what happened to the individual, and my neighbor's housemate shared that this individual apparently did not last long doing specific work with the mining company, as he supposedly found it hard to adapt to the jobs he was involved with. He subsequently left soon after arriving, going back to wherever he came from with the elder. My neighbor's friend also mentioned going on a private helicopter ride deep in the Western Australian outback, where he saw incredible sights while traveling through and around some of the mountain ranges. He said that he saw a very large, incredibly designed structures built into the mountains that were so high up, he had a hard time figuring out how anyone could have accomplished the feat. The bloke who was the helicopter pilot pointed out that this area was kind of like a no-go zone / sacred area that almost no one from the outside world has seen. Needless to say, I was absolutely flabbergasted when I heard these stories, but they also rang true with some of the off-limit / poo-pooed evidence I have researched over the years that mainstream doesn't discuss. I know the story is not specifically Sasquatch related, but it may be a puzzle piece for someone out there. You just never know, right? I may have not personally encountered a Sasquatch, but not seeing them physically doesn't mean I don't see the truth when it's smacked in my face. Seeing and recognizing truth, the deliberately hidden truth and the manipulation which currently encapsulates our human society, in my opinion, means that I have already joined the Club of No Return. I'm a proud member, and personally I'm so thankful to everyone out there in this community for their boldness and strength in sharing their truths. Steve, thanks so much for taking the time to read this email. It means a lot to me. I watch your videos all the time, and I feel more uplifted and motivated within myself with every update that's dropped. It's encouraging that someone as bold as you is out there listening and validating other people's truths. Truth originates from people that aren't silenced and people that are allowed to speak. Thank you, and just know we all have your back. I pray for you and your family, and I wish you all the best. Keep going, mate. We need your hard, bloody backbone, especially in these days, and I am so thankful for your unwavering persistence and strength. Love and prayers, Adam. Appreciate the kind words, man, the support. And it's coming right back at you and everyone else here, right? But again, what it all boils down to is truth and knowledge. And where are you going to get it? Today, you're only going to get it from the people. That's it. You are not going to get it from mainstream news, media, newspapers, anywhere in the globe today. It's not going to happen. Don't shoot the messenger. This messenger shoots back. But anyway, that's a fact. So much knowledge gets dropped here. Isn't it crazy? There's the amount of knowledge gets dropped here, and if each piece of knowledge had its own road, holy cow, the amount of turns we have, options to make in a day. Especially for me, it's a little overwhelming at times, right? It's like, holy shit, there's a road to turn down there, there's another road there, another one there, another one there, and then I keep reading more and more and more, and more roads come in front of our face. It's something else. But in the meantime, I actually, while I was working, I don't have any Wi-Fi out. Wi-Fi doesn't reach out here, but if I leave my phone out in the middle of the driveway, connected to the house, and then put my earbuds in, then I can actually get away with listening to stuff while I work out here. And I listened to Dave Elias's video the other day. And if I could urge people to listen to this one video of his, it's not a long one. If I could just urge you guys to all listen to it, and listen to the man he's speaking to, and listen to the man's words. All right, listen to who he is, listen to what he's done, and listen to his words. Once you do that, then what are you going to do? Are you going to do this? Or are you going to get loud about the facts you shared and share it, and try to share those facts with as many people as you can? Which one is it? Which one are you going to do? It's just, I think, possibly, hopefully, and due to numerous people like Dave, myself, hundreds of others, thousands of others who are trying to share truth with all of you because they care. They're not trying to do anything to you. And unfortunately, a lot of people react that way. They react with truth seekers as the enemy, like they're trying to do something to you, which is absolutely impossible. Everybody shares with people what they have learned and ask you just to look into it and think for yourself. Isn't that amazing? Instead of being told and dictated to and suppressed, censored. But anyway, what this man has shared, I've known about for a long time. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to realize these facts. That's for certain. But what I'm getting at is when you listen to this video, listen to this man, what he has to say, it's going to help you to absolutely kick mainstream news to the curb. These dark people who are doing such evil things today, they're nothing without you. Okay? Everything that's going wrong in the planet today, they cannot do it without you. They can't. They cannot do their dark deeds without us. Okay? So I'm sharing that to hopefully give you guys incentive to kick all the bullshit to the curb and take your power back and quit giving it to them because they're not using it for the good, all right? All right, it's enough babble. I'll get it going on the day. And coincidentally, going back to the owl man's mention of me on that trail and that antler being left, I'm going to that trail in the next 2 days. It's time. I'm going to hike up there, get some of my trail cameras and other spots, and I'm going to go up that same trail and I'm going to have a look around and see if there's any fresh antlers laying there from a certain buck that I'm really curious about for the last 5 years straight. And maybe this time I will videotape my way in the whole way on that trail, and then I'll videotape my way back out on that whole trail and see what maybe might come up. You never know, right? I'll be back. Keep writing me in, man. Share my story at howithunt.com. Get it off your chest, share that knowledge. Don't be scared, all right? Always keep the backup camera handy. These little bloodsuckers are getting thick. Nothing up here for chew on.